Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Learning with Jelly. So, today we are Module 2, Lesson 5, going deeper into strings. And today we're going to talk about string methods. Keep in mind that these presentations and notebooks are on GitHub. So, at the end in my description of all my videos, you're going to be able to follow along. So, if you want a copy of the notebook and you want to practice, you definitely can hit that GitHub link and get a copy. So today we're going to talk about string methods. And I want you to remember that methods are pretty much like actions. What do you want to do to an object? And they are going to have parentheses following them. So keep those two in mind. They are actions and they're going to have parentheses. So let's see our agenda for today. So we're going to define a method and we're going to talk about three methods today: the dot upper, the dot lower, and the dot title methods. So just a flashback, what we have been talking about, strings are text data types and they are single quotes or double quotes. Yes, numbers can be strings if they are surrounded by quotes. The previous video, we talked about indexing and slicing strings, so basically pulling out a piece of a string. And today we're going to talk about some actions that we can do with strings. So just flashback of why we are talking about this. Why is it even important? There are tons of data that is stored as strings, whether it's tweets, whether it's notes fields in data, survey feedback, and more. So what is a method? So a method is an action that an object does. And I told you at the first video that everything in Python is an object. Okay, so variables that we create are objects. Data frames that we're going to create are objects. Models are objects. And as far as methods usually have a parentheses after it. An attribute is a characteristic or a property. So we have methods and properties, and we're going to talk about properties later. I have a nice little visual that I've created here where I have the object basketball and the difference between methods and attributes. Now, dot bounce is something you can do to a basketball. Dot shoot is also an action you can pretty much do to a basketball. And they have these preceding parentheses. Whereas attributes are characteristics of the basketball. Dot orange would be related to its color. Dot in underscore lines would be related to the number of lines on a basketball. And objects have different methods and attributes depending on what the object is. And so that's why it's important to know what type of object you are dealing with. So turn strings into uppercase using dot upper. So in this case, I have the string lowercase miss, and I am just doing the variable or the object, which is greeting, dot upper, and it's going to change that to a capital MISS. So let's go ahead and fill in our name in lowercase. So I'm going to put Jelly here and assign it to the object name, which is also a variable. And I'm going to call that object name and do a dot upper here just to change it to uppercase. And at times, this is great when we're standardizing data. Sometimes people can put their name in lowercase. Sometimes they can put their name in uppercase. Sometimes they can put their name in lower and uppercase. And we want some type of standardization for our data. So let's look at dot lower, just like how dot upper changes things into uppercase. Dot lower is going to change it into lowercase. So let's call the object username, call dot lower. And here we go. We have it spit out the same thing, but let's change this data here to capital data and let's rerun this. Okay, so now when we run the dot lower, we see that it's going to change just the actual letters into lowercase. And then dot title. Dot title is going to be title case. So it's going to have all of the first letters of every word capital. So in this case, I'm going to do full name, dot title. And now I see learning with Jelly where the L, W, and J are all capital. So it's going to do that for us. So in summary, everything in Python is an object. Each object has its own methods and attributes. Now, there is some overlap, but we'll talk about that later. And a method can be seen as an action or a transformation to an object. What do you want to do to that object, such as dot upper, dot lower, and dot title? So that is the end of this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe to Learning with Jelly. And we're going to talk about more string methods in the next video. Bye-bye.